welcome back to our channel. We hope you guys are doing well, and thank you guys all so much for the love on all our videos and our Instagram and socials. So yeah, welcome back to our channel. I'm Hodo.
I'm Colton.
And we are back with another video. We are just going to talk about something that is new and heavy in our minds. Love is Blind. I just watched the reunion episode today.
I watched it this morning.
Did you?
As soon as I woke up, I watched it. I literally dedicated. You know, I had to like break it up into chunks because I was like you know, when you're like trying to pause and absorb what's going on. And I've come to the conclusion that like Shake is actually quite entertaining. Contrary to popular belief, it's actually quite funny. And I feel like he made that series.
He did, and I feel like everyone just I feel like in the series one, everyone didn't like Jessica for what she did.
Oh, yeah.
And like in this series, everyone didn't like Shake for what he was saying. I personally don't agree with anything he's saying. I also think he's a bit of a child.
Yeah.
Because he can't admit that he's wrong.
But also, I feel like people kind of like creating outrage over Shake is taken away from the fact that the real villain is Shane.
I agree.
I do not like Shane.
He's so like, everyone on Twitter is saying that he's like coked up, but like,
but we don't know.
I mean,
we don't know.
Quotation mark. We don't actually know if that's him or that's him on drugs.
Someone said that he might actually have a nervous tic and that it could be medical.
True. Like his facial expressions really scare me.
I know.
Like when he looks at Natalie, I just feel like he hates her. It's like
he's just on edge.
He's always got angry stares. And the other thing about Shane that I don't like is the constant validation that he needs.
Yeah, it's like a child. Like that's another child.
Do you know what I mean? He's like, just call me pretty. Tell me that I look good. Why don't you tell me that you love me? Like, oh my God. Imagine being with how.
It's exhausting.
Do you know what I mean?
It's really exhausting. And I feel like, you know, Natalie comes across as someone that's really level-headed. Yeah. And it has the ability to be able to articulate her feelings quite well. And I just feel like Shane doesn't get her.
He doesn't
doesn't get her.
I think a lot of Shane is associated with him, like everything is about the way he reacts, the way things adapt to him. Everything's related to him. And even in that conversation when he was talking to her, when they were talking about their problem, like which they didn't reveal,
he was like, why are you not taking accountability for what you did, when it was him that basically lashed out at her.
It's so scary. And she's fully crying and he's getting upset. And you could tell he was getting upset that
not
she
for
was
her.
crying.
Yeah.
That she was acting like she was actually getting emotional about it.
But he wasn't upset.
Yeah, he wasn't upset about her crying.
Like there was no empathy towards her. It was like, it's how you made me feel.
Like, why are you reacting this way? Like, he was outraged by that.
And they were calling Shake the narcissist, but the real narcissist is Shane.
I agree. Other person that I found funny, like Kyle. When Kyle randomly said, I love, what's her name? What's the Asian girl called?
Deep Tea.
Oh my God, I love Deep Tea.
Because I should have paired up with married Deep Tea.
I was like, well, we should get on with her now then.
I think they are seeing each other. Well, I'm not sure actually, but basically somebody posted on TikTok her story, which was like them two quite close in a picture.
Oh, that's cute.
I sent it in the group chat. I'm surprised you didn't see it.
I want to know what really happened with Cheyenne. What's her name? Cheyenne? Shayna.
I
want to know what happened with Shayna and Shane. Why was he so abrupt to say, don't speak about
something happened?
I know, and then she didn't want to hot him out.
Yeah. But then at the same time, she was like quite like happy to speak about it, but he was like, did you see the way that he just sunk into his chair and he was like sobbing like a child?
I feel
we wasn't actually sobbing, but he just looked like
he was like very uncomfortable.
But physically uncomfortable. Usually people can hide that, and he's an adult. Like, I don't know.
I just feel like I think something happened. I definitely think something. The best moment in that show, in that reunion for me, was when Shake goes, Vanessa's the only woman I'm attracted to.
I can't even
The
imagine
bravery.
how burning Nick must have been. He probably wanted to jump over the chair and just...
Nick is a very confident man in himself. He literally just looked at him.
You,
This is why you treat animals. That's what he said.
Oh yeah. It's like, what did he say? I can't remember what the sentence was, but it was related to his job as
he was like, maybe this is why
as
you
a
treat
puppy
animals.
dog.
But I just feel like Sheikh needs to just grow up, hun. Like, come on, you're an actual doctor. Do you know what I mean? Vets are doctors.
Animal doctors.
They're still doctors.
That's what Nick took the piss
He's like, yeah, animal doctor. He still does, like, he did medicine on animals. I don't know, but
I know, but you can't relay, like, you can't relate somebody's qualifications to how emotionally, not emotionally, but like how self-aware they are.
I think emotional if someone's that intelligent,
but if he lacks emotional he can lack emotional intelligence he can lack emotional intelligence without actually lacking kind of physical, like, knowledge based, like what you'd call.
But what I'm trying to say is, for his age,
conventional knowledge.
I get that, but for his age and the degree that this man's mastered, he's got the mental capacity to be able to learn emotional intelligence and to understand when to close his mouth and when to really self-reflect and be like, whoa,
there
like,
are people out there, Hodo.
That's, to me, that just says,
and you know what they say about men just basically regressing?
I don't know what they say. What do they say?
They say that women are obviously a bit more, women are a bit more intelligent than men.
I just think Sheikh doesn't have people around him that tell him the truth.
Yeah.
He's got yes people around him. There's no way you go around walking around.
But you know, as a person, he seems like a really kind of like fun-loving guy. Do you know what I mean? But I just feel like in a relationship, he's just a bit of a dick. Does that make sense? So you know how he was very like talking about people, the women's physical appearances, and asking them how much they weighed, and
how does he not see that as wrong though? That's what
would I be able to carry you on my shoulders? But I think in his mind, not that I know what he was thinking, but he was probably thinking, this experiment is for me to find my wife, so this is like a massive commitment, so he needs to know
what she looks like. You're on the wrong show, love.
Just like
Love is Blind. You're not meant to see.
Like they're basically trying to say, "Are you butters?" Like without being rude.
But then that just shows the whole element of the experiment was because you fall. And like, let's be real. Do these people actually fall in love?
He shouldn't. I mean, we've got 2 marriages.
Do these people actually fall in love? But then, to be fair, like a lot of our parents had like a 1 week to get to know each other, and they got married and they stayed together forever and they love each other, so it works. I feel like slyly Love is Blind is like a
Somali marriage.
like a Muslim Somali marriage.
A Muslim getting to know phase.
Minus the actual nikah happening at the end.
That's actually quite a great analogy. It's true, like our parents literally, I'll tell you what the setting was. Men would come to the house, they'll see the woman and then they'll leave. They'll come again to see the woman, and then they'll come again, and then they'll tell the mum. And
there would be no quiet conversations. So there would be someone
and the woman could just be cleaning. She'd just be doing her thing in the house, she'd be cleaning, but they've just come to observe the woman. Her. And then eventually we'll make the decision that they want to marry her.
And then boom.
And then it's done.
20 years later, they're still together, they've got kids. I mean, relative or not, if people...
That's real resilience though, imagine, that's real Love is Blind.
Literally, real Love is Blind is when you...
My parents had their Love is Blind.
So did mine, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My mum and dad.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I think he saw my mum one day.
And he went to the family.
And he went to the dad. His dad came around a few times.
But you know what it is? I feel like in certain situations as well, it's like the woman might necessarily not want to marry the person. Yeah. And then it's like the family will encourage her to, which is a bit...
it's a bit forced marriage that, which isn't obliged.
Yeah.
Even in Islam. But the point is, even the way, like, realistically we're meant to get married in Islam, like... Let's be honest.
There's no love.
There's no love. Love is blind until you get married.
Exactly.
That's the reality of it. Because that's even what Allah says. Like the actual true love comes in a marriage when you get married.
Yeah.
Which is kind of relatively true, because if we really like depict it, or not depict it, but if we really like pick on it, you can understand that at the beginning, if you're dating someone, they're just going to show you their best foot forward.
Absolutely.
You're not going to see the reality of who they are.
Performative.
So I understand the hikmah behind saying that true love actually comes after marriage, because you actually see 2 people for who they are. Mind blown.
Mind blown. And I feel like the concept for Love is Blind is been practiced in our communities for decades.
It's not new to us.
No, this is normal behaviour. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, yeah, they're not going to work, they're not going to work.
But they might actually
But they can actually work, yeah.
Season 1 did.
I loved. Who was that couple?
What are their names? Oh my god,
the black woman and the white
They
guy.
were just, and you know what I loved about them? I just love men who are not scared to be romantic.
And emotional and vulnerable around their significant other.
Oh, what was their name in season 1?
I can't remember, but I just loved them. They were like the flagship couple of the whole show.
Yeah. Lauren and Cameron. That's it.
Oh my god, I loved Cameron. Cameron was a good
man.
listen
To each other, and I feel like when people have good communication is really necessary.
It's key.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I just don't know you know what, I was watching one of these divorce videos online the other day, and I was just thinking, I know it's not like I shouldn't basically be like, but they put it out there, so I'm allowed to.
Yeah, you're allowed to watch your opinion.
But I just thought, honestly, the problems that were happening in that marriage that were put out, I don't know what was happening in the background. Yeah. But what the girl was saying could have been solved by just being, you know, like very clear in what she wanted and communicating that.
If someone is not willing to compromise with you,
fair, and I get that, but in this particular scenario, I think they've been dating for 5 years. So what I didn't understand was, how were these conversations not had in the 5 years that you were dating? And it's crazy to me.
5 years is a long time to be dating someone.
Yeah.
To not accept them.
But on the other side of the coin, they were very young. They were a very young couple, and I just feel like maybe those kind of questions don't really come into your head when you're at those. When you're in those age groups, you just kind of are going on blind faith, and this person is very beautiful to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This person's the love of my life.
But you know what it is? I'm going to be honest. When I got married, there's certain questions that I was like very young when I got married. I was 23. That me and my husband now, we spoke a lot about like financial stuff, but we never spoke a lot about communication. We improved our communication within our marriage. So I just feel like when you get married at a very young age, specific to who you're talking about, you don't ask the right questions. I feel like you don't have the knowledge to
or the confidence,
or the emotional intellect to even talk about what communication is. Like, did I know at 23 what right communication is with someone? I just wanted what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna work for you.
No.
But then I think and also I think for me, I think in that particular situation you're talking about, it's about the types of relationships you see in your life.
Yeah. And
how you use that as an example in some reference. And I think,
but then comparison is the thing.
But not a comparison, because naturally growing up we see our parents, we see people in our...
So you naturally compare.
You naturally compare, or you learn things, or you see lessons. So I just feel like... I don't think any good is Khasara. I think that...
Well, she's doing it for the right reason. She wanted to make it out. You know what it is? They were together for 5 years before they get married. She was just sick and tired of the fact that they were running around doing this in a haram way. Which is valid. Yeah, which is completely valid. But then it's like, people forget that, okay, fair enough, you want to make it halal, and that's probably like your number one, that's what's influencing your decision. But other factors need to influence your decision as well. So the fact that you've been dating for 5 years, what have you learned in those 5 years about your potential partner? Do you know what I mean?
And also you have to think, I feel like a lot of the times you've just got to compromise. A man can't enforce, you can't change someone. That's the number one thing I've learned. You cannot enforce your ideas on someone. You can advise someone, you can give them like, this is what I want, and I think this is what I want for our future. Like, do you know, there's middle ground.
Yeah, you've got to glamorize the situation.
Like, you can't just say to someone like, I used to do this. And I feel like a lot of the times, especially in our culture, when people get married, naturally people become a little bit more religious. Yeah. It's a natural thing. Yeah. It's a natural process. Absolutely. You've completed half your deed.
Done something for the sake of Allah.
Exactly. But you can't, if someone, let's say, said example, one person's religious and the other person isn't.
Very tricky.
That's going to be a very difficult situation to, like, unless the person's open-minded to become, like, a little bit more religious.
Which in the situation,
ground.
In the situation, the girl she tried her best, basically.
Yeah.
And I think what people don't understand is no matter how much you try, in terms of like trying to strive in your religion, there are times where you're going to feel really shit and your iman's low, and you won't be your best self. You won't. No. Do you know what I mean?
No.
And I just think it's just honestly, there's patience by Allah in that scenario.
Back to Love is Blind quickly. Ayana and Jared.
I'm surprised that they had sex.
I'm surprised.
They had sex on the honeymoon. I was like, what?
I think I saw that though.
No, you didn't. What you saw was
her in bed.
alluding to the fact that they had, but a lot of the couples were in bed at the time.
Yeah,
so they alluded to the fact that they might have, not the couples, but the production, or whatever. And then remember they were in the shower.
Yeah.
And then they asked Tony, her,
yeah,
and she was like, "You know, sex in Mexico." I was like, "You know how she talks."
I just don't know. I just feel like
it's too fast.
I don't even think it's too fast.
It is too fast.
That situation, but what Carla, like, I don't expect any less, but like, I just think, I don't know if they'll stick together. I just feel like he's always had an eye for Mallory. But then again, that might change. You never know. They're still together. Because obviously when they filmed the reunion, that happened last year. Not the reunion, the actual show. So that means they would have been years now.
In.
So they probably are still together.
I think she mentioned, Ayana was saying how there were some obstacles that they had to overcome together. So like, she was saying how she became more of an outgoing person.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like that's what she initially had a problem with, was the fact that he was so extroverted. Yeah. And she was like very like, I want to stay at home and read my book.
No.
And then I don't know, I think like the roles kind of
each other.
changed, but at the same time she said that she managed to find some balance, which I think is nice.
I think it works.
So 1 year in, usually 1 year is the mark where they either
so when the craziness happens. So I think it's worked, but all around, I don't know. I think I really liked season 1.
Yeah,
this season really didn't do it for me. I watched Love is Blind Brazil. It's just too much. But the people are very pretty, but it's just too much.